Hi guys. So today's video is going to be a list of authors whose books I'm always going to have on my radar. For me, the idea of an auto-buy author isn't necessarily somebody whose works I'm going to buy no matter what the work is about or whether or not it's a genre I like. I'm still going to stick to the books that sound interesting to me. But for the most part, most of the authors on this list, I have read multiple works by them and enjoyed multiple works by them. So pretty much every time they announce something new, I'm gonna have my interest piqued. We'll go ahead and get the obvious one out of the way first for those of you who are familiar with my reading tastes and just say I'm pretty much always gonna be interested in whatever Sanderson is working on. Mistborn is my favorite trilogy of all time. I'm pretty sure Stormlight Archive, when it's completed, is going to be my favorite series, epic fantasy series of all time, although it's already basically that, so unless he like totally screws it up, it's basically already there. I also just really loved Warbreaker, even though I know there's talks of there being a sequel. I think it proves that Sanderson can not only write trilogies and series, but he can also execute a really good standalone. As a side note, I know a lot of you have been having a really fun time joining in the monthly buddy reads I've been doing, and I'm thinking Sanderson's new young adult book, Skyward, I think that's what it's called. I was thinking of doing a buddy read for that. I thought that would be really fun. I like sticking to normally really big, giant, like adult fantasy books and stuff because I think those are more intimidating and therefore more fun to read as a group. But I think a lot of you are also Sanderson fans, and I think it'd be kind of fun to read that one together. So let me know if you guys are interested in reading that book in a giant buddy read when it comes out. The next author on this list would be Jim Butcher. I absolutely love the Dresden Files series, and I've only read a few of them, but I absolutely love them, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things about his other books. I'll take that back. Some people really feel that some of the Jim Butcher books are a little bit on the sexist side, and I personally don't. I'm not going to get into that though, because that's not what this video is about, but for the most part, I've heard really fantastic things about his other series. My friend Joshana, who has her own channel, you guys should check her out, she absolutely loves the Aeronauts Windless book. I've heard that that book is so much fun, that it's so funny, and it's just filled with adventure, which I feel like is very similar to how I would describe the Dresden books. And I actually got an entire one of his other series back there that I've heard is really good, that it's basically kind of like Pokemon, and that it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, basically anything by Butcher I'm going to want to pick up. Next up is an author that I wholeheartedly wish that so many more people knew about because I think his books are extremely underrated. I think he kind of got screwed over by the particular publishing house that he was published through, and his work is so fantastic. And it's not fantasy, but it's actually historical fiction. It's historical fiction about Vikings, and that would be Judson Roberts. I've mentioned the Strongbow series by Judson Roberts a few times on my channel before. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I highly recommend it to anybody who likes historical fiction or likes anything to do with Vikings. But I just absolutely love Judson Roberts' writing. I think he did an amazing job of weaving in the historical elements of the book. He really includes Viking culture in a way where I don't feel totally lost, but I don't also feel like I'm being explained to constantly. The character that we are with throughout the book, it's told in first person from that character's view, and it just feels so organic and so natural. You kind of really feel immersed in the Viking culture. He's currently working on the 5th book in this series, and I can't wait till it comes out. I'm definitely going to do a reread of the current books that are out for when he gets the 5th book out. And I know a lot of you have been interested in reading Judson Roberts, and you see the covers online, you're like, I don't like the covers, and I get it, I don't like the covers too, that's why I took off the sleeves. But really, honestly, the story is so amazing. I like covers a lot, I love artwork, but I'm gonna be stereotypical and say, like, don't judge a book by its cover, because these books are so fantastic, more people should read them. Also, the covers have since been reprinted, so they're a little different looking now, and if it makes you feel better, Judson Roberts didn't like the original covers either. Now getting into an author's works who pretty much always have fantastic covers, and that would be Victoria Schwab. Schwab is definitely an author who I've read multiple books by, and I've enjoyed pretty much all of them. I've read Vicious, and I enjoyed Vicious. I read the Shades of Magic series. I enjoyed the Shades of Magic series. I read Monsters of Verity and enjoyed it. I don't know that I would say any of her books have been absolute favorites for me. It could just be that I haven't connected with the characters the same way I connect to the characters in some of my other favorite series, but I have enjoyed all of them. I think she's a good writer. I think she has really accessible writing, and she is very fluid from young adult to adult. I also just think her books always have a really, really interesting premise. Speaking of having an interesting premise, I do want to include Neal Shusterman on this list. I've only read one book by Neal Shusterman, and that would be Scythe, but I adored that book. I really, really, really loved it, and I thought the premise was so interesting that I was like, please don't let me down, because this premise is so cool. I hope the book is great. And it was amazing. Well, it was amazing to me. I don't like overhyping things because then it can ruin other people's reading experiences. But I loved Scythe so much that now I'm intrigued by everything Neal Shusterman has ever written. I can't wait to read Thunderhead. I can't wait to read his like Unwind series. I think he just has such interesting, kind of morbid ideas for his books, and I really like that. The last two authors on this list might be a little surprising if you're familiar with the kinds of books I normally like to read or the authors I talk about a lot, because I don't think I talk about these two very much, and one of them would be Marissa Meyers. I have read all but the last of the Lunar Chronicles books, and I have enjoyed all of them. I read Heartless and went in kind of thinking it was just going to be this silly origin story for a bad character from Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts, and then I read it and I was actually really into it. I really, really liked it. And something I really like about Marissa Meyers' writing is that it's the characters. She doesn't make characters that are super bland and anybody can imagine themselves being this character. She doesn't really do that. She really writes characters that have their own personality types, and I like that, because even if I don't connect with that character, I like seeing different kinds of people in books. And the last author I want to mention is kind of new to me, and it's for contemporary books, and that would be Jenna Evans Welch. I don't read a lot of contemporary. I'm really excited to always jump into fantasy. I'm a little intimidated sometimes by science fiction, but contemporary, oddly enough, I'm weirdly intimidated by. There's something about contemporary that I'm like, is this gonna be too cutesy or too fluffy? What if it's just, I don't know, I have this weird thing about jumping into this genre, and I read Love and Gelato and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was very adorable, and then I read her other kind of companion book to this one, which is called Love and Luck, and I really enjoyed that one too, and I just find them to be a nice break between some of the fantasy books and science fiction, historical fiction books that I like to read. Are any of you guys like that too? Like, is there a genre that you're intimidated by, but you've found an author that you know you're comfortable with in that genre? Because that's basically what Jenna Evans Welch is for me with contemporary. Anyway, that's it for some of my auto-buy authors. This is of course not an entire list of all the authors that I'm interested in, but these are ones that definitely stand out to me. Let me know who some of your guys' auto-buy authors are. Let me know what series that you feel like maybe are underrated, kind of the way I feel about the Strongbow saga. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.